Here's what happened. It is wild that today is the 100th episode for this podcast of Make Burnout Extinct. It's both wild, taking the time to really let that sink in, and it just feels like another Wednesday right now is the day I'm recording this. So it's interesting to hold both of those in my hands, what it feels like, or those feelings in my body, holding those two and realizing like this is just going to be another check mark done, and then on to the next one. But I have to also appreciate like this win that happened. It's my 4th podcast I've done, longest I've done for these episodes. And it's been, again, what I've told you in the beginning of this is my commitment is to go the distance and to get this mission out to more people, and focus on that. And to think about where this is at is a wild. It is absolutely wild. So what I want to get into are 10 of my favorite quotes right now for staying consistent with new habits. Because I think one of these habits was showing up for you since the first few weeks. I'm trying to remember when exactly I made the commitment to do this, was to do 3 episodes in a week. One, to get this out to more people faster, and then to be able to hone in my skills as a storyteller. And then to be able to continue to grow this movement with your support and feedback. It's wild to have held to that commitment. So I'm excited to get into it for these 10 favorite quotes of mine. This is Make Burnout Extinct. I'm Robert David Weeks. Thank you for taking the time to be here. I know you could be doing a bunch of different stuff, a lot of distractions that are out there, but by you being here, wanting to focus on staying consistent with new habits, and to listen or watch my favorite quotes that I want to share with you, that's cool. That's cool to take a moment to be present here, and I want to deliver for you because all of these quotes absolutely can have a positive impact in your journey of staying consistent with new habits. So to get present, because I know you've dealt with like a lot of shit is what I like to say, but the challenges, and then you to get to this point where you are now, and then you're probably gonna have a lot of the shit afterwards, a lot of the challenges you gotta deal with afterwards. So let's get one deep inhale through the nose and then exhale through the mouth. Here we go. Inhale. Oh, I'm going to stretch this one out and out. There we go. Oh, yeah. All right. Welcome back. And then if you're new here, welcome. If you haven't done it yet too, please subscribe and follow the show for the latest episodes. I have a few commitments I got to get into, as always, before getting started. First commitment is to continue to grow this show. So by you subscribing and following the show, it helps with honoring that commitment and to continue to grow this movement, where now over 7 months in this thing, it's wild to witness the growth that's happened. And it's cool to take a moment to appreciate that without your support, this wouldn't be possible where it is right now. And so I want you to know that my commitment is, again, to continue to grow this show, get this mission out to more people, to know that it is possible to make burnout extinct. The second commitment I have for you is to be honest with you. There are so many times leading up to my burnout in 2018 after the social media conference where 500 people came together, and I was organizing that with a small team and then a bunch of volunteers. I lied a bunch leading up to that event. I thought I had to be perfect and had to be, quote, on all the time. And so what happened was I couldn't tell people how emotionally I was feeling, how physically exhausted I was, all the mistakes I was making. I felt I had to keep that all in and be that perfect person, which ended up causing this immense amount of pressure and tension to build, which at the time I didn't realize was because I was lying along the way. I had this idea of every time I lied, I felt this this ting and like the tingles of like this, there's something wrong here. But just to realize what that can do for the body over a long period of time, I didn't know until after hitting my burnout and realizing how big of an impact that was. And so for a value of mine that's really strong right now is to be honest. And again, nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect, but to the best of my ability, I want to set expectations for you for what to prepare for in this journey you're going on of making burnout extinct in your life. Because what I want to tell you is it absolutely is possible for you to listen to the signals, or recognize first the signals from the body, listen to them, and then make the changes in your behavior and your habits so that you are moving towards making burnout extinct rather than moving towards hitting burnout. And when it comes to habits, that's so important, is understanding that your habits determine where you land on the spectrum that I'll get into in a little bit. But to be honest with you, to the best of my ability, not just share the results, which is for making burnout extinct, is to feel energized in your day, to feel excited for the momentum that you're building towards this vision you have for the business and for your life. And then the feeling of that aliveness. It's all of that and the hard work, putting in the effort. When you get off track, noticing those emotions and sensations that come up and then get back on track. Realizing you're going to have to put in the reps in when people aren't watching. And so you have to do that for yourself too. So it's all of that in this journey of making burnout extinct. And again, I want to tell you, it absolutely is possible for you to make burnout extinct. So let's get into it for today. Thank you for being here, for being a part of this movement. Today, I want to go through my 10 favorite quotes for staying consistent with new habits. I'm going to just go through these on rapid fire for each one, and I'll tie it into then consistency with new habits because I've relied on these throughout this whole process of not only showing up here for the show for you, but then also behind the scenes with or not so much behind the scenes, but other things that I'm doing. If that's the workshops that I'm doing, talking about the mission to make burnout extinct, and talking about how to stay consistent with your habits. If that is the one-on-one work of understanding your body sensations and helping you with staying consistent with habits, all of that, as well as personal life too, staying connected with my partner, being able to make sure I am taking care of myself and optimizing my health, having to take all of that and create this harmony that I get to move through life with. These quotes have been so helpful to help relieve the pressure, take at times when I'm feeling really intense and overwhelmed, having moments to be able to release that out of my body. And then when it comes back to your habits, what I want to remind you before I get into the first one, which is from a mentor of mine, John Butcher, every day, your habits decide where you land on the spectrum. Where on one end you've hit burnout, and then on the other end you've made burnout extinct. And I've talked about this a few times, but I really want to remind you about it because you're in this battle, it can feel like, with the burnout beast. It's reminding yourself that your body is on your team. It's there to support you, but there's this other thing that's out there that I call the burnout beast that can drag you towards hitting burnout. And that can be based off of these habits that are draining for you. And so in the simplest way that you can make burnout extinct, it's to do the majority of your habits that are energizing for you rather than draining in your life. That's how you make it happen. And so every day it's deciding, do you feel more energized or more drained? And then that decides where you're moving towards on this spectrum. And so habits really play a key part. That's the habits of what we do for certain feelings that we experience, to the activities that we're doing for our health and optimizing it, for what we're doing in the business, as you're continuing to get the work done, to the relationships, how we're showing up, and then just the thoughts, the tornado thoughts that can happen in our whole day. So habits are interconnected in all areas of our life. And that's a really important reminder for you as we get into it. So the first one, to kick it off, with one of my mentors, John Butcher, this quote that there is no one right way, but there is a right way for you. This has helped me so much with all of the noise that can be out there online and in person, a lot of the shoulds. Well, you could experience that in your own life where a lot of people are coming in saying, you should try this, give this one a try. Oh, this one's not the one you want to do. This how their habit is really helpful, or this new trick for optimizing your health is the one you want to try, or to be able to feel more relaxed in your business and your personal life, you want to try this, all the shoulds. But what you have to come back to is, what is the right way for you? So noticing, by getting connected or staying connected with your body, noticing what feels you can talk about it feeling in alignment, feels energizing, feels like a hell yeah. There's different ways that you've learned to recognize it, but it's understanding what is that right way for you. Because for habits, what you want to remember is, every time you put in a rep for the habit, afterwards, do you feel energized? If that's a check mark, awesome. The other one is, can you see yourself doing this habit for a long time? Maybe the whole rest of the year. And then again, reminding yourself that perfection doesn't exist. So you will get off track. That happens, a few days here, a few days there. But for the long term, can this be something that you can sustain? And the one I go to is waking up in the morning. If I usually wake up at 9 a.m. or 8:30 a.m. and then I'm trying to wake up at 4 a.m., that's a big jump. Yeah, I may get excited for that 1 or 2 days where I wake up and I'm like, oh man, I got so much stuff done. But then to try to hold on to that consistently, that might not be right for me. Maybe my time is at 8:30 a.m. time. And currently that's what it is for me. I try to wake up, or not 8:30. I try to wake up before 8, get out of bed. And that just feels natural. I'm able to sustain that for a long period of time. I'm still able to get a lot of stuff done. And that's what works for me right now in this chapter of life, with everything that's going on. And so it's just coming back to filtering all of these opinions and insights that are coming your way to figure out what is the right way for you. The second one I want to get into is this other quote from Alex Hormozy. I really like his energy and his vibe of like working hard, getting into it. Accountability is one, because there could be a lot of this victim mindset. I've talked about it before, and I felt it for a lot of my life, of feeling like I had it, I'm this victim and people got to come in and help me. But there gets to a point where you realize you got to take on accountability. And so the chapters that can come up in life, and specifically the chapters that can come up in your habits, you can have moments of intense resistance that can come up from the body as you're putting the reps in for these new habits. And so what is an important reminder for you is that now is not forever. That's his quote, where it's remembering it is temporary. Going back to the emotions that you're feeling and the body sensations that can come up, reminding yourself that this is temporary. And the way I bring this into then the habit formation process is reminding you of the 3 phases for habit formation, where you have the awkward phase, you have the angry phase, and then you have the autopilot phase. And I've talked about that before, but to get into specifically the angry phase, this is where the natural resistance comes up. This is where a lot of times people think there's something wrong with putting in the rep for your habit, and then they decide to stop doing it. And you may have that experience that's come up where you've had this habit, if that is going outside for a walk. Simply put like that, you may get to a point, usually what happens, you get to a point where you feel this like natural resistance to come up, where you feel like you're getting hit with an imaginary wall, where you don't want to go out there and go for the walk. It could be because you have so many other challenges you're having to deal with in the business or in your personal life that it feels like an extra thing you have to go do for going for that walk. Or there could be another reason for that for you. But it's coming back to remembering that this is temporary. This is a temporary phase for habit formation. And it's reminding yourself that you're actually really close to then getting into the autopilot phase, where then it becomes less, it's like a neutral energy to show up and put the rep in for the habit. Because the reason why the resistance is there is with anything new, it can create uncertainty for the body. And with something that's uncertain and unknown, your body could take that as a perceived threat. And so for this new habit, if it's getting to the point where it feels like it's going to be a part of your daily life for permanently, that's where then it's intense for the resistance, because that changes then your whole future, which is incredible and powerful. And it's something that you probably want to have happen. But for the body, it does want to keep you safe. And so that's where you can get pulled by the burnout beast back to your old ways, back to your draining habits, moving back towards hitting burnout. And so this quote has helped me a lot of times during the really hard days to continue to move through it and show up to the best of my ability. The next one I have for you is, again, going back to John Butcher. This one is, when you take 100% responsibility for your life, it's one of the most terrifying and rewarding things you can do for yourself. Yeah. 100% responsibility. That terrifies me. Like, that's where I'm just like, no, like, I don't want to deal with this. I want to take 100% responsibility. I don't want to take full ownership of this. That can feel like a lot of pressure. It can feel overwhelming. But if you can, again, go back to the quote I just said with Alex Hormozy of now is not forever, those intense sensations that you can feel, even as you hear those words, are going to move. You're going to move through it. It's going to pass. It is temporary. And then there's this empowering feeling that comes up listening to this quote of that you have a lot of control here, a lot of ability to change the circumstances or the situation, or let's put it this way, the situation that you're in, those circumstances that you have, the excuses that are coming up for you of like, there's no way, I think about that for me. I really had a hard time thinking of myself as an athlete, even though I played 3 sports in high school. And so especially if you're someone who doesn't play 3 sports in high school and you want to optimize your health and focus on working out consistently or going out for that movement, there's some empathy there for you of like, it may be a struggle for you to think that you are an athlete, but you're doing the things that are showing you that you are. These habits of movement, getting that in every day. And so I struggled with realizing that it was a me thing. There's not some scorecard out there, this leaderboard that decides I'm on the list of athletes or not. Like, I get to decide that. And then I got to build the evidence to show that through my habits. but I can believe that it is possible. Because again, you may not have that complete certainty for taking the 100% responsibility. You may not be completely certain of, changes that you're making in your life, of like, oh, it actually is going to happen, but you can give yourself the possibility of it. And I go back, this actually is not a quote I added in this list, but I'm going to add it right here, which is from Eric Edmeades. So I learned a lot about when it comes to public speaking, where he says, if you can't believe in your dreams, then doubt your doubts. And you can bring that into this too, so that you move into that empowering feeling when it comes to taking 100% responsibility, which is, what are the skills that I have to develop in order to become that person I want to become for the new identity, which is where our habits have defined who we are, but they can change with new habits coming in for that identity that we have about ourselves. And this one really hit when it comes to being an athlete. And I've gotten to a point now for me where I do feel like I am an athlete. I am creating movement throughout my day. I am putting in that effort and putting in the reps for optimizing my health. Yeah, I don't play a sport professionally, but I still consider myself an athlete. And it's cool to get that distinction now. And like, I'm thinking about that more. And it's just, there can be this moment of thinking we don't, or not this moment. There's a lot of times that can come up in your life where you think you don't have any control here for the actions to make any difference or any impact. That could be based off of where you're at financially. That could be based off of where you're at in the business and building the business. There could be this helpless feeling, this learned helplessness that has taken over your life and your specific day. And this quote has helped to be this like spear that just like cuts through the noise and says, oh no, when I take 100% responsibility for my life, it's going to be one of the most terrifying and rewarding things I can do for myself. And I tap back into what I can control here. The next one I have for you for the quote, number 4, is put the reps in. I say this so many times. These other ones I have for you, these are going to be ones I tell myself and I share with you. So put the reps in. It's that reminder of like, it takes repetition for these habits. They're not going to happen overnight. It's going to take repetition. It'll take time to make sure that I stay consistent with these new habits, and that it's an ongoing process, because it comes back to the reps that I'm putting in. And it's that reminder for you that there is no end destination here. It's an ongoing process, because there can be this like gripping of the wheel of life of like, I gotta get to the end destination. It's similar to like if you go on this, I think of the big road trips and you have the rest stops along the way, but you want to just keep pushing through until you get to the end destination. In life, take those moments for rest. Absolutely, with putting the reps in. Make sure you have time for that rest to pause. But it's a reminder that it's an ongoing process. It will never stop for you. And that can create a lot of pressure and overwhelm. But also it's the reminder for you that when you are putting in the reps, the more repetitions you put in, the easier it can be to show up for those habits, especially on the hard days where you do get off track. It can be a lot easier to then get back on track. So quote number 5, if I can do it here, I can do it anywhere. I said this when I moved back in with my parents after my burnout. It was a few years, and then the pandemic hit. And so I was in Charleston, South Carolina. I was working at an event venue as a consultant for social media, but then I also was teaching meditation classes. It was like a whole other time in my life where I was just trying to figure out what I was going to do. And there was a lot of uncertainty there. But then the pandemic hit and the event venue had to close down. And so for me, I'm losing. I didn't know. I was unsure financially what was going to happen. And then emotionally, physically, I was already in a really tough place after my burnout. And I felt like I was recovering and, moving, moving forward. But then it felt like all of a sudden I moved so many steps backwards. And so I was going down these tornado thoughts where I was like, I got to be somewhere where it feels safe and comfortable. And that's moving back in with my parents. And there was a lot of shame and a lot of guilt there. And it caused me those first few, I'm trying to think how long it was. I don't know exactly how long it was, but definitely a few days where I was just like wallowing in it. Like I was just like stuck in all of these feelings of like, ugh, why me? Like this sucks. Like all the feelings that can hold you back and keep you stuck. And so I remember repeating this to myself. It just like came through where it's like, if I can do it here for putting in the reps, for staying consistent with my habits, I can do it anywhere, is what it felt like. And that's what helped me with this momentum, to build the momentum with new habits, and then it caused me to move forward and get out of that situation. I'm grateful for the time I had with my parents, and it was like a whole new relationship I was able to build with them. That's like an adult to an adult relationship that I'm really grateful for. But I'm like, I don't want to stay there. Like, I want to keep moving forward and move out of the nest and be able to go and explore the world around me. And that's what my life partner and I do now, is we're able to travel around. Now we're, here in Santa Barbara, California, but being able to travel in like a nomadic lifestyle is something that we both want. And I'm really excited to have been able to move through that chapter of life. The other one I have for you, this is number 6, small wins lead to big wins. There are so many moments in your day that you can forget about celebrating. If that is waking up at the time you said you were going to wake up at, if that was making your bed, if that was getting a work task done, to making sure you're getting foods that are energizing for you, staying hydrated, drinking your water, creating your movement, all these things that could optimize your health. There are so many times you put in the reps for your habits and you just keep moving forward and don't take the time to actually celebrate it quickly. And so I've talked about this, of how the small wins lead to big wins. So if you can celebrate these small wins and remind your body that you want more of this, and it can be a way for the body to release dopamine, that internal reward, then it's going to be this amazing cycle of momentum to keep going, to keep focusing on putting the reps in. So for these celebrations, it's a physically celebrating. So how I started it off, and I've talked about it before, where I do like a woo, yeah, that's how I would do it. Now I tap both my shoulders, raise my arms up in the air, and I go, yeah, I get intense about it. Thinking back to if I scored a goal, and you think about that, you see that in sports, people celebrating like wild. It's that energy, bringing that into these small reps. And it sounds silly. It could be weird for you at the start. You may be uncomfortable doing that around other people, but that helps to build momentum for yourself. You feel excited. And so you can then channel that excitement to getting more things accomplished when it comes to putting in the reps for these other habits that you have. The next one I have for you is number 7. This is natural. I've shared this in one-on-one work with people when it comes to your body sensations. I remember the first few times of going through reconnecting with my emotions, or not my emotions, because those emotions just bubble up, but reconnecting with my body and then noticing the emotions that are stuck in different parts of my body. I did that through my somatic teacher, Annabelle, who's a friend. And I remember those first few times asking her, is this natural? Am I supposed to feel these intense sensations? And because I haven't been able to tap into it for a long time, yeah, it does feel super big and overwhelming because it is very new. And I remember her kept saying yeah, this is natural. This is natural. And so for you, when you put the reps in for staying consistent with your new habits, you're going to have different body signals that happen for you, and these different sensations that can bubble up, where it can feel overwhelming. It can feel like the world is ending. It can feel like, are you going to survive this? And it's coming back to that quote of Alex Hormozi, the now is not forever. Now is not forever. It is remembering that this is temporary. And I've had so many of those moments to have to just reconnect with my body, feel the feels, realize that this is temporary, let it move through my body, release out my body, and then I move on with my day. And I continue to put in the work. I don't have to stay stuck in those emotions. I can acknowledge the message, which is something that was taught to me by John Butcher, of he says it great, where it's recognizing that there is a message in these emotions, getting the message that could be resulting in me having to change a behavior, changing in my habits, and then move on and just keep going through my day. The next one I have for you, number 8, is I'm safe in my mind and rest of body. This is when I was feeling really, really overwhelmed. I felt like I felt like I was on shaky ground. That's a foundation. This is where I was trying to figure out who I really was for my values, what I really believed in for my values, what I wanted to be able to transfer into then the business, and then be able to make sure that what I'm saying to other people, I'm actually taking that on and practicing that for myself. And so really being able to not just talk it, but walk it too, is how you can think about it. Or I'm trying to think of that, man, I'm pretty sure I messed up that saying. But it's just being able to follow through is how I think about it for what I say. And so what I have to remind myself is that I am safe in my mind and the rest of the body. Because you can have the tornado thoughts that happen, all these anxious thoughts that can come up of what ifs. What if in the business, for you're dealing with you're waiting for a response from a potential client or this other difficult client or this new project or new opportunity for you. It's all that what ifs and these tornado thoughts and the deeper meanings that your mind can just run with, where then it can be really hard to go to sleep. That's where you can like stay up for hours going through these different scenarios in the mind. And so when I can come back to saying to myself, I am safe in my mind and rest of body, it creates, I feel more relaxed. I can just take a deep breath in, which actually I'm going to do right now. You can do it with me, but like deep inhale and then release and get settled in and remind myself of like, this is possible to feel safe, because there's a constant going, moving to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing, without having those moments of pause to be able to reset for your mind and the rest of the body and then be able to move forward. Number 9, I'm accepting of all of me. You have to realize where you're starting for you to be able to move forward. There can be a lot of either trying to ignore what is really going on in your life, the challenges that you're dealing with. If that is your financial situation right now, trying to ignore that, not look at the bank accounts. If that is the growth in the business, realizing where it's at, it may be non-existent, or you may be stuck right now with all the uncertainty that's happening in the world. You may not know where you're headed. But when you can accept where you're at, that's where you can then put in new strategies and new techniques and tools and habits to help move you forward. Going back to staying consistent with new habits, when you can accept all of where you're at, it becomes a lot easier to show up and put the reps in for staying consistent with new habits, because like you're going to get off track. And so instead of trying to compare yourself with everyone else around you, just compare yourself with what you got going on. I think there's both. They both have value, but in the moment when you're trying to stay consistent with new habits, focus on your baseline. Come back to where you started. So that's accepting all of me, where you're at, to then where you are now, and noticing those changes. And if it's the improvements, what's working, what's not working, and being able to adjust from there. And then it is a reminder for you. You will get off track. That happens. And it's just being able to recognize that this is also temporary and that you can get back on track. You can reset. And then the last one I have for you is that I'm loved and worthy always. There can be this chase externally for love and for worth, but you cannot forget about giving that to yourself. Because when you do, you show up differently in the world. You don't have this desperate, constant desperate energy. Like I need all these things. Because when you can come back to like, I'm loving myself here, I'm worthy always, you already know that you're the success internally. Now you got to make sure you have the skills that can match that for evidence for the external world. But that's where then it just becomes this fun game they get to play. It's not you're putting your love and the worth outwardly to like, I need to have all these people admiring me and appreciating me. I need to constantly be told that I'm worthy. Like, no, you have an internal fuel source that's there for you. It is great to have all that external because it helps to be these energy boosts. I think about that for me with going out and doing the workshops, one-on-one work, being able to be on here and sharing with you these insights. That fuels me. I get excited about that. I've also had moments where I've resisted that because it's a new habit. But I still have my internal. I love myself. I'm worthy always. I may not like myself, and that's the truth of it. There are moments I don't like myself. I get pissed off at myself. I get frustrated. But the love is always there, deep down at the core of it. And it comes back to that other one I just said recently of I'm accepting because I accept all of me, where I'm at. But that doesn't mean I don't want to change. I do want to change. I want to grow. I want to explore. I mean, that's the beauty of being a human being able to explore what's possible. But then it's also accepting, I think of the nearly 40 trillion cells in the body, accepting all of that and what's going on. And so this one is such a powerful one to hold on to, is that when you can come back to you are loved, you are worthy, you are able to then create this greater, deeper level of trust within your body. And for this confidence, more of this confidence within you to be able to grow and expand. And then that's where you open up these new doorways of possibilities for your business, for your life, for your overall quality of life. So those are the 10. I'm going to just say them real quick right here. So you have all 10 of them as a recap. The first one, There is no one right way, but there is a right way for you. Number 2, now is not forever. Number 3, when you take 100% responsibility for your life, it's one of the most terrifying and rewarding things you can do for yourself. Number 4, put the reps in. Number 5, if I can do it here, I can do it anywhere. Number 6, small wins lead to big wins. Number 7, this is natural. Number 8, I'm safe in my mind and rest of body. Number 9, I'm accepting of all of me. And then number 10, I am loved and worthy always. Thank you for being a part of this movement, for taking the time to be here. I have to say it, I'm so grateful for you being a part of this, because without your support, this wouldn't be where it is today. It's 100 episodes in. I'm excited for the episodes ahead and excited for you to be along in this journey. And I want to remind you that if you haven't heard it yet today, I believe in you. You have the capabilities to be able to understand the signals from your body that are telling you you're moving towards hitting burnout, and to notice those body sensations, to be able to recognize how to stay consistent with your habits that are energizing so that you are moving towards making burnout extinct. You got this.